What's up, everybody? We wanted to take a quick moment to remind each of you to please like, share, comment, subscribe to the podcast. Tommy,
Ring that bell.
ring the bell. It goes a long way to support the podcast. Besides that, Tommy and I offer online coaching. The links for that will be below. The link for my merch store will be below as well. And without further ado, we bring to you a Thinking Man's Podcast. A Thinking Man's Podcast. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of A Thinking Man's Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Joseph PIRCHER, and with me, as always, my good friend Tommy Stiles. Tommy, what's up, buddy? You ready for this or what?
We're ranting today, buddy. We're ranting today.
Yeah. Little bit of a switch up on this episode, and we're kind of just kind of being in the moment here, and we're hoping to address a couple things that we're seeing more and more within the bodybuilding industry. So with that pretty minimal hint as to what's going on here, the floor is yours, my friend. Let it rip.
Yeah, we're gonna go a cappella on this little freestyle rant. Listen, I'm all about proper form. I'm all about optimizing the movement and making the muscle do the work. But you have to understand that I've been training for a lot of years.
How many years, Tommy?
In total, I have been weight training for 19 years.
Yeah.
I have been training like straight bodybuilder for probably 12 years.
Okay. All right.
Competitively bodybuilding for 8. So
Okay.
do with that what you want. But there was many years where I didn't understand the terms I know now. There was many years where I didn't think the way I think now. I had to get there. I had to there was people who led me there. There's information available, different sources of information from different people that led me there. But a lot of the way I found my way there was trial and error, and just through repetition. You don't know you're doing something terribly wrong until you look back. And that's been like, when I see training videos from 5 years ago, if they pop up on like my Facebook time hop, I'm like, "Ooh, Tommy, what were you thinking?" But put myself in that moment, in that gym on that day, like I was going hard. That was as hard as I could go at that point in my life. And I'm going to tie all this into now, 2022. There is so much information. There are so many people putting out good training information. I'm not dogging that. I try to put out good training content, but I think myself and you and anybody that's putting out content, we've all created a vortex for people to get stuck in, to where they're actually now thinking while they're training. How many years did you spend like the gym was just like, dude, I can't wait to go to the fucking gym,
And just
even
let it rip. Let it
even as
completely fly. Yeah.
Even once you started bodybuilding, I still thought like that. I was like, man, I'm gonna go train. Yeah, I still want to get huge. That's been the goal since fucking puberty. But
Training's really first.
I just want to train really hard today. Like it's Thursday and I'm going to train hard. And I think that mindset has been lost with people getting so wrapped up in making sure they're doing everything as right as possible. And it's like, I'm going to let you in on a little secret to anybody newer or getting deeper into this. You're doing things as right as you can right now at this point in your life. In a year, you're going to look back and realize it wasn't as right as it could be, because you're wiser. You've learned, you've evolved. That could be applied to anything in life, really. But we're talking about training. And I just think I've always said the number one factor with training, all these different cues I give when I train clients, all the different setup points, intensity is number one. Your overall effort is number one. You have total control of that every single time you step in the gym. And I'm seeing people, both my clients and then just, looking around, they're trading in intensity to overthink and to make sure that form is 100% perfect. They're leaving intensity and effort on the table. It's almost like they're training scared. They're training scared to actually, like, I don't want to tell you to get hurt, but it's okay to do improper form to a point. Like, it's okay. I had so many reps that were like poor coming up. And even now, in a year, I will probably look back at some of my videos as they pop up, or I look back through my phone and I'll see things based off what I see now at that time. I'll be able to look back and say, hey, that form wasn't as good then as it is now. I've clearly gotten better, or I got smarter, I lowered the weight, whatever the case may be. But man, I wouldn't have built the foundation. I wouldn't have got to 200 pounds body weight training any different way. If I was like, I didn't think to get to 200. I trained as hard as all I thought about was effort. If I left the gym feeling like I was absolutely destroyed, that was a win. That was what I wanted to accomplish for that day. Now, fast forward to now, I know that that's not probably the best option to get through the whole year with, but I can't say that that framework didn't help me get here. And I can't help but wonder, like, are some of these people who are new to the game that are hearing the words fatigue management and inflammation and a lot of these other buzzwords that you and I say and others are saying, it's not that they're wrong, but man, we're kind of overcomplicating a very, adding muscle isn't this crazy equation, really. So I'll kick it to you. I had to get that off my chest.
Yeah, hell yeah. Fucking say it to him, buddy. We have kind of created this. I think this maybe over emphasis or like hyper focus on managing fatigue, without making it clear that the first half of that is accruing any type of fatigue at all, like working hard first and then having to manage for it later. And then also, I know I do this where sometimes I get caught in the weeds of really advanced ideology or techniques, or tools that we use as coaches or whatever. And then there's a lot of people that listen to this, or even a lot of people that we help too, that are at the early stages of their journey. And man, a big chunk of what comes out of my mouth then when I'm in a mood like that or a mode like that can be pretty much completely disregarded by a lot of these folks for the next like 3 to 5 years. There is, I would say, man, because it feels like we give some conflicting information. It's kind of on the listener to understand where they truly lie on the giant spectrum of this whole thing when it comes to experience and training age and potential and all these things. But I would say generally, like, for the first, man, if you think that you want to do this for the next 10 or 15 years, the first half of that journey should be spent like really trying to get good at big lifts, whichever ones work for you. Like there's a whole host of them, and you don't need to do any one variation, but you need to pick like a core group of main lifts and really just fucking bury them in terms of volume, in terms of intensity, in terms of effort. Like just smash your head through a wall on a couple of these movements for months after months after months after months. And then, with your isolation movements, your cable stuff, your single joint stuff, yeah, that's when you want to really connect with the muscle and the biomechanics of things and really be super accurate, because you don't want to waste any volume. And that's the line for stimulus is pretty thin when you're talking about these like smaller, lighter load movements. So you want to just squeeze every ounce of it that you can out of it. But yeah, I think there's just been a lost appreciation, I think, for just basics. And like I said, there's no specific variations that I'm talking about. We've done whole episodes where it's like, no, you don't necessarily have to barbell squat, but if you're not going to barbell squat or it doesn't work for you, like find a good hack squat, do a full range of motion leg press, and then fucking bury it. I know I say that a lot, but there's no other way to put it. Like just go until the tank is empty on all of your sets for the next 6 to 10 months on that movement, where a rep goes up or a 2.5 goes on each side, basically every week. And there's no reason for people that are early. Like we talk about deloads and all this stuff. I've seen more and more anyone that's like, let's say male enhanced 20 to 24, like we are only talking about a deload when you come to me and you're like, I hate training at this point. I don't want to go to the gym anymore. It's like, okay, then maybe we need a week of dialing things back. Other than that, like there shouldn't really be like these proactive, like the way that you and I organize our own training is not how most of these people need to be doing it.
And we didn't do that coming up. That's the thing.
I never even I'm new to all, like I have a deep understanding of all this stuff and have a good understanding of how to apply it to people and all these things, but I've been using all these terms and really following these types of practices myself as someone that's 10 years in just within the last 2 years. So it's like, I guess for me at year 8 or year 9, I started to manage fatigue. So if that's not you, like just really, it's cliche, but without like using it as a billboard or some type of marketing gimmick, I kind of intuitively always just wanted to be the hardest training person in whatever gym, whatever room I was in. Like if someone walked in, if someone that didn't know anything about anybody in the gym walked in and someone told them, hey, there's one person in here that's a competitive bodybuilder and they train like it, you should be able to get picked out of a line. Like for most of you that train at these like commercial gyms, you go train at a Crunch or Retro, LA, any, like you should be the baddest motherfucker in that gym and everybody should know it when it comes time to do your main lifts. And if that's not the case, you need to reassess your training. Now, when it, like I said, when it comes to these other movements, yeah, you want to get super accurate, really understand and feel the muscle, and it will make you a better bodybuilder for it over the long haul. But man, you gotta fucking plant your flag at some point and like dig in and show people like, yeah, this is the most important part of this whole process, because that's what it is. It all starts with the training.
Yeah, that is literally where you create the stimulus for growth to even occur. You don't need rest if you don't create a stimulus.
Right.
You don't, it's not, you know,
Right. If
don't
there's no
rest too
fatigue,
much.
if there is no fatigue, there's nothing to manage. You're just avoiding hard work.
And that's a good point. I think you said, 8 or 9 years until you started managing fatigue. And it's like,
Yeah.
maybe I also, same thing. I don't think we were at a level of training or strength or musculature or any of these things until that point.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And some people might get there sooner. I have guys that will probably be there or beyond, where they're really strong and really accurate with movements and they have a good chunk of muscle on them and they're 5 years in, and it's like, okay, we need to be more mindful of this now at this point. Like, but generally, like if you aren't like, if you go to one of these commercial gyms or you go to a college gym or any of these things and you're not like pretty obviously like one of the most advanced people there, this probably is irrelevant to you. Like you just need to be the hardest worker in the room, and that's it.
I remember just a random post James Hollings had made sometime in the last 3 years, and it was just like taking the day off today. That set of squats yesterday got me. My ears are buzzing. Yeah. If that's what you're feeling, like I train myself to like damn near being sick. That's how I know I need a deload. Yeah. If I'm like, wow, do I have a fever? Yeah. Like it's not just, I don't want to go to the gym, because I think we give these guidelines for when to program a deload. It's like,
I know, yeah,
dude, there's a lot of days I don't want to go to the gym, but it's not like I'm just busy with work, and it's like, man,
right.
As much as I love to train, I got to get this shit done. Like going to the gym is actually fucking up my day.
Yeah.
But at the, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go because I don't love training. I just have so much other stuff to do. But that's where. Do I need a deload, or I just need to be disciplined? Discipline's king.
Yeah.
Am I just a little sore because I'm just training really hard right now, or am I
Right.
Are my joints crunching? Am I like sore just sitting still? There's so it's all
Also,
perception.
all those things that you just mentioned come when there's 15 years of wear and tear of hard training. Like a lot of these folks aren't that far in as far as their training age. Like you just don't have the mileage on you. You should be able to push through and continue to push through for extended periods of time, more so than than you are when you're a little bit older and you have that kind of wear and tear on you. Like my knees and my hips and things they don't bounce back the same that they did when I was 22 and on gear and doing all these things. Like it's an evolution, like you said. There needs to be an evolution. You either adapt or you die, but before there's an evolution, there needs to be an understanding of where you actually sit. You can't level up if you don't understand what level you're currently on. So I think that will just help people, like people. And I think there's like a level of entitlement too, where it's just like, oh, I come in and do the 3x12 and I ate all the meals on my plan and I did my cardio. So, I'm working hard. Like I deserve this result. And it's like, you don't deserve anything. And if bodybuilding teaches you anything, it's that you don't always get what you deserve or what you feel like you deserve. You get out what you put in, and oftentimes you get back less than what you put in, unless you're one of these like super genetic freak anomaly people, which most of you listening to this are not. Tommy and I are not. So I guarantee you, if you spoke with someone around our age, somebody older, whatever, there's a good chance there's more people that put so much into this that they don't feel like they even got an even return on it than they did. So yeah, that's
I think if you ever
yeah.
ever have a moment where you're asking yourself or asking someone else how good your genetics are, that means they're not that good. And to never ask yourself that question again.
Yeah.
Really, like, don't worry about it.
Well, if you're bringing it up and someone else isn't bringing it up to you, they're nothing to write home about. So just learn to love the process and bust your ass.
Yeah, genetics is a word you can toss outside of your mind.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most overused words in the industry is genetics, genetic potential, this, that, and the other. And it's like, dude, if I would have looked at after my first show in 2014 and wondered, do I have the genetics for this? And the answer was no, I would have quit.
Right.
I looked like a fucking swimmer after my first show, dude. Like, I
Me
didn't
too.
look like a bodybuilder. It took me like 6 or 7 years of training as a bodybuilder. I remember the moment Dusty in an email said, like, you've reached a point where when you have your shirt off, everyone knows you're a bodybuilder, not just a dude who lifts weights.
That's awesome.
And that has stuck with me. Like, that is what we're talking about is like, you need to earn your stripes.
Yeah.
You said a good line, like, smash your head through a wall. And like, truthfully, you have to go too far to be able to know how to pull back.
Yeah.
You can't, tread water. And it's like you're riding with training wheels and you're so afraid to take the wheels off and just, you're going to fall. Guarantee it. You'll fall once. And then you'll learn to not fall again.
Or more than once.
I'm not telling you to like do this stupid shit that you see on the Gym Fail IG page and get hurt and to fuck yourself up. But I am telling you to set the safeties on a Smith machine and
let it bury you.
Bottom of a squat. Yeah. Fail at the bottom of a press. I am telling you to try to do a pull from the floor and not be able to get it and have to drop the bar. Anything plate loaded or cable, there should be no fear of failure. With free weights, I'm giving you all these fail safes. I'm telling you to have a spotter that you trust and to truly fail to the point where they have to spot you or you will die. Yeah. That is what you need to do to unlock new levels of intensity. Think about it like a video game. The better you do, the more points you accrue, however you want to play the game in your head.
Tommy obviously doesn't play a lot of video games.
No, I don't. And not at all. I haven't gamed at all. But I'm trying to create analogies for people. Like,
no, I hear you.
I've had people, message me and tell me that they looked at my clients. Like, I was looking at your form and my form doesn't look anything like that. And I was like, dude, your form looks so much better than when I was where you're at. Like, you just
Right.
gotta accept where you're at is where you're at and give it your all for that time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did this. We're talking about this because, like, we do kind of indirectly, we end up giving some contradicting messages. And it's not that we're full of shit or anybody else in the industry is full of shit. It's just, we're also evolving and learning. Like what I said 2 years
there's
ago.
context too. We
Yeah.
give a lot of general oversight or main takeaways to people, to an audience of people that include beginners to advanced, male and female. So it's like you kind of have to broaden the way that you message things, but then in the same strokes, it's like each individual, you could ask me how I would manage 100 different situations with clients or other bodybuilders, and there might be 100 different answers. So no, I think this was I mean, you felt like, you told me off air, you felt like you've just seen like a growing theme that people aren't emptying the tank in their training. And it's like, okay, both you and I feel like lean into the training as our favorite piece of this whole thing, more so than anything. So it's like, if you feel like that, it's got to be addressed. Anything else?
I think that, I mean, that gets the message across. I don't want to come like every time we do something along these lines, I'm like, man, we're just getting older and we're starting to sound like the people that were talking shit to us 10 years ago. But I think that you unlock a level of that as you age and as you spend time doing something. But
also we're trying to help. We're trying to help.
Absolutely. I think there's a fear of emptying the tank because there's so many inflammation and fatigue and don't.
I think there's just like a fear of failing too. Like we have our clients send us these videos, and I almost feel like I see clients that are like afraid to get negative feedback. Like it's like they almost are just sending what they want me to, like what I want to see, which sounds obvious, but it's like, it almost, sometimes people don't look natural in their movements. Like a lot of these guys that I have are like former athletes. It's like, I want you to be an athlete in the gym, So yeah, I think just generally people know that we're trying to help, and it's kind of like, hey, this is something that we're seeing and we got to address it.
I think you mentioned another point about getting caught up in a lot of the advanced principles, and like I had felt myself kind of like slipping into that frame of thinking. And recently, like I watched Blood and Guts again for the
say no more. You've been ripping heavy shit off the floor ever since.
I actually haven't pulled from the floor, but what I did is like I watched how Dorian attacked each set. There was not one ounce of movement, even in his whole workout, that was wasted. Everything had a purpose. And I think about all of these distractions that we have now, our phones, the gyms are like, his gym was like private, so he didn't have what's going on around him. We talk about tripods and broccoli heads and all this shit that we have to deal with in 2022. That's just a thing. And it's like, I even catch myself like, dude, keep your head down in between sets. Don't look around. Don't let thoughts come into your mind. Like, you are here to do a job. You can get out of here in under an hour if you just don't fucking think and don't let your mind wander. Who cares what that person over there is doing or that person over there? They're all in the gym. Everybody's there for some reason or another, even if it's to film themselves and look like a dipshit. They're here. We're kind of all in this together, because there's a lot of people who aren't even in here. They're, you know what I mean? So I just watched how he carried himself in his training, and like I've been trying to bring that back into my own training. And I got to tell you, last night, delts and triceps, I did 5 working sets for the whole session. 1 press, 1 dumbbell lateral set with where I did 3/4 reps, quarter reps to failure, 1 single arm cable lateral raise, 1 set of 2 arm tricep push downs, and 1 set of 1 arm tricep crossbody push downs. The pump was insane. I couldn't bend my arm. And 2, like I was done in an hour and 5 minutes. Not counting my shoulder warm up that I do. We can be a lot more efficient. If I can find that, as many years as I've been doing this, the new person or the newer person or the younger person listening to this can definitely clean up and do better, and improve and be more efficient with their time and their intent in the gym. It's something I've said previously that I got away from, but I'm saying it again, is intent with intensity. You need both. You need to be a bodybuilder in the gym, but you also need a whole fucking shitload of intensity. And I mean, the whole reason I wanted to talk about this today is like, I'm seeing too many people like act like intensity is this afterthought, and we're just going to train really calculated and make sure our bodies are in these perfect plane of motion. And if the ambient temperature of the gym's off, that means the lift's off. It's like, no, Dorian was so good at what he did, and he applied the principles of what he knew because he didn't worry about what was going around in his surroundings. He channeled everything into himself and what he was about to do. And I think if you actually take what I'm saying, and I just did this last night and a few other sessions lately, and you just focus, put your phone on airplane mode. Nothing outside that gym matters right now. And I mean that, like literally phone, airplane mode, your music will still play. You do not need to be texting. I'm guilty of this. I check emails. I see shit come in from clients. I'm like, oh, shit, I got to be a good coach. I got to answer that. And it's like, no, motherfucker, you're here one thing at a time.
It's an hour of your day,
Exactly. And I just think if you become obsessive about your time in the gym, you can't not be intense if that's your mindset, because you're so focused on performing and giving as much effort as you can. It's when you have scatterbrain where it's just like, oh, was that okay? I don't know if the form was good. I'm going to watch that video back. Oh, I don't know. Like, you're thinking too much. You know what I mean? So I'm like sweating. Dude. This is a passionate podcast for me.
No, I'm just soaking it all in. I'm like, wow, this is passionate right here. Yeah. No, it's a good topic, I think, for what we currently see in the average gym goer, or even people that say that they want to be bodybuilders. That is going to be the thing, and I feel like we can't reiterate this enough, but the thing that is going to set, like, I feel like people have lost like they're like a sense of like stubborn competitiveness to them, where it's like your training is going to be what separates you from every other person that you come across in the gym, or like on stage. So, man, I don't know. Like, I just, that should always be a thought too. Like, if you're talking about being a competitor, it should be competitive with yourself, always trying to level up where you're at from what you've done, beat your best former self. But also, like, there's all these like nameless, faceless adversaries that are out there training, and you have no idea how hard anybody else is training. So it's like, that's what I'm saying before. Like, at minimum, you need to be the hardest training person in your gym every time you're there, where it's like, okay, everyone that I know of is not putting in the same level of effort and intensity that I am. And then it's like, you have to then, that's a step. And then the next step is conjuring up a new level of intensity, because you don't know what's out there or who's out there. And they're, man, like, I don't know. That's just thinking about it. Like, when I am fatigued, or I'm tired, or I'm depleted, or any of these things, that's the type of stuff that I think about. Like, is like, man, I don't know. Like, I just have a level of like being stubborn, to where like I told people that I was going to do this, or I've said and told people that this is the way that I live and this is what I'm really about. Like, I'm fucking showing up and doing this the way that I said that I do this, and the way that I do this every other time. And I don't know that people have that. I think people are just quick to fucking, I get messages from clients where they're like, hi, hey man, I just got through warm-ups, and like, it just doesn't feel like it's there today. And it's like, man, that's something like 8 years ago, I would have never thought to have said to a coach. Like, I would have just found a way to do it. And then at my check-in said, yeah, everything is up to par, like executed the way that I did last week. It's a different time. And I think we've also, like, by wanting to be responsive and attentive coaches to build our reputation and show a level of service and support, we've almost coddled the average client to where, to where they're just more needy, like on like an emotional level, more so than you or I would have been at towards a coach. Now, as far as like the X's and O's of bodybuilding, like I'm on call 24/7, whatever. But then when there's this other stuff, it's like, man, like I think we just need to get back to really busting our ass. Like this is the number one priority of my day, every moment of every day. Like the phrase, we're trying to keep the main thing, the main thing. The main thing is being a better bodybuilder the next time I get on stage. And so what does that require? A lot of the time that just requires me shutting up and working my ass off. So I think everyone, anyone that listens to this, people that are 10 years in, every now and again, there's always these principles in bodybuilding and these staple things that you need to have and things that you need to apply on a daily basis, that it never hurts to refresh and come back to them. Like even us talking about this now, it will kind of recharge me the rest of my week, because I'm like, you know what, if this is the standard I expect other people to uphold, like you're damn right I'm going to uphold this myself. So yeah, training intensity. You want to dive into this other shit real quick, and then I could break a sweat.
This is your bag, dude. I'm ready. You texted me about this early. I was like, oh, Joe's on one today.
Okay, guys. So as competitors, I need our industry to be a little less shameless moving forward with what they choose to share, especially from an emotional point of view, publicly for everyone to see. Has there been times as a competitor where I maybe saw some photos or came off stage and was upset or disappointed in the placing that I had, or maybe the way that the lineup was navigated by the judges, or any of these things? Absolutely, there have been times like that. In those moments, have I bitched to my closest friends or the few people that I would choose to have at a show come support me? Yeah, there's been times, absolutely. Less as I've gotten older, but there's definitely been times I'm like, man, I feel like I have this guy, whatever. As far as what you go out and say publicly, especially if I know a lot of you, like Tommy and I, aspire to, or are trying to, or currently even have made a living or a business out of this industry as a whole, your reputation and what you put online publicly for people to see is everything. We don't do Google reviews and rate my prep coach or any of these things that people in the regular world, normal people, go and do, and that determines how much business you typically get. No, your business is your public image and what people think of you. So even if you did think that you got robbed at a show, or the judges didn't give you a fair look, or the promoter coached the guy that won your class and you thought that you were harder than him, or any of these things, I'm going to give you some very pointed advice. Just shut the fuck up publicly, okay? No one cares. I promise you, there is not a single person other than your girlfriend and your mother that's going to read that post and give a flying fuck at all. What you look like on stage is what people are going to comment on, what people will remember, and people will, your physique will speak for itself one way or another, whether your thoughts are valid or not. The physique speaks for itself. Obviously, if you're complaining about placing or a look or any of these things, the people closest and most professionally trained on what it is they were looking for were not impressed, or your physique did not stand out to them. And that's just that. It doesn't matter. There are no politics on, especially in fucking amateur bodybuilding. And I don't care if you're talking about like the highest national level, the super heavyweight class at nationals, where there's 40 fucking dudes, 250 plus peeled. There are no politics. They don't care. They don't care who your coach is, who the promoter was, what team, what bodybuilding team you're a part of. Nobody gives a fuck. If you weren't the best physique up there, that's just that. Like if you were the best, you would have been awarded as such. So when I see this common theme this entire season, and we record these well before they come out publicly. So if you hear this and you're a competitor and you've competed recently, man, I'll just say honestly, if you're someone that hears this and it feels like the shoe fits, you can wear it, because everyone needs to hear this and understand, like, you're just embarrassing yourself. The rest of us read these things and we get secondhand embarrassment for you. Like if you were second place, 1 point decision, and felt like you got robbed of the Mr. USA title, or at a pro show where the difference between first and second might be $40,000 or $80,000, something like this, and you want to talk about that, okay. I mean, fuck, I can't. I've never been in that position, so I can't say what I would do if I felt like I was wronged in those shoes. But the insight might be interesting depending on how you portray it publicly. If that is not you, and you're talking about like being first or second in the light heavyweight class at the fucking Iowa Potato Classic, the Mickey Mouse fucking Orlando Classic, any of these shows, it doesn't fucking matter. Like if you weren't good enough, if you weren't so undeniable to walk into the show and mop the floor with everybody as a clear and justified overall winner in whatever category you compete in, you just need to move on and get better, because obviously you're not good enough right now. So if you're complaining about not winning a class or not winning an overall at a local NPC show, move on and go get better. And then even at different levels, like, Tommy and I now, we both have a decent network within this industry. So I know people at the highest level of all the different categories. And I see people complaining where they're like, 8th place, 10th place, 12th place, tied for 16th, dead last. And then they go online and talk about it was politics, or they didn't get a look, or they don't like how prejudging went. It's like, how fucking delusional do you have to be to think that the difference between you being in 12th place and first place was politics? Oh, it's got nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me or my physique or the way that I presented or prepped or any of these things. Nope. I was the best one there. I was robbed. They put 11 people that didn't deserve to be ahead of me. They put them ahead of me. Really, dude? 11 people that didn't deserve to be in front of you got placed in front of you? You are fucking delusional. Like, if you're arguing about politics or not getting a placing, and you're anything outside of second place at the highest levels of bodybuilding, you look like a fool. And we are all feeling secondhand embarrassment for you. Because if you're arguing, let's say you were 8th place at a show, let's say you were 8th place at a pro show, and you're complaining that you were 7th place or 6th place, guess what? Nobody gives a fuck. Now, even worse, if you were 8th place or 6th place and you're complaining about not getting a look or a placing in the terms that you think you should have won, you are fucking delusional. And you need more people around you that are going to be honest with you. So that is just my rant. It's a subjective sport, but damn, I am really yet to see many like egregious judging errors where I couldn't understand why the person that won wasn't awarded a win, especially at these lower levels of bodybuilding that nobody gives a fuck about. So, man, I could probably go on this for 2 hours, Tommy. I don't know what else to say. I just think it should go without saying. And I'm amazed and, just floored by how shameless people are and how tone deaf and, just the lack of self-awareness, like, especially when you have a big following and you make a business out of this. Like, you look like a whiny pussy right now. you look like a whiny bitch right now online. And you're the last person that I would ever pay money to, especially like if you're a coach and you're going to go on and publicly dismiss any accountability or responsibility for the way that you placed, you are the last person I'm ever going to hire. Most people are coming to a coach for some form of accountability. You're showing on the biggest public platform possible that you are not someone that can take accountability or responsibility for the things that happen. So why in the world would I ever hire you? You just look like a victim, and it's, man, fuck. I don't understand it, Tom. I don't.
Yeah, I've seen it, since I've been following bodybuilding. I've always seen that.
No, we see it every year, but it's like, man, how does it, when does it stop? Like, how does no one, we've all seen other people say these things, and every time, the first time you read that someone wrote that, you're like, oh man, come on, fucking own up, dude. Like, no one cares. Like, no one wants to hear that it was politics. We've all seen someone else say that and felt that way. So then how are you going to go on and your circumstances any different? Like, I just don't get it. Like, people are fucking clueless. The lack of self-awareness in this industry specifically, and the level of delusion that happens at the lowest levels of this sport, are mind-boggling to me. Like, go talk to a bunch of people that play men's league fucking recreational baseball on Tuesday nights, and I promise you, none of them think that they should be with the Yankees. Like, there's that level of delusion doesn't happen in other sports for whatever reason. I guess maybe because it's subjective and you can just say, I like this physique better than others. But damn, man, that's really what it is. Like, we have these people that are fucking, play a rec league, men's league every week, or in the case of bodybuilding, go to the rec league, men's league, NPC classic once a year and show up looking fucking 4 weeks out and then want to complain that it's politics. It's like, no, you just executed at a really fucking low level and were awarded as such. Like, it's too much, man. Like, there's too many people that feel like, oh, I did my cardio and I ate my vegetables, and that should mean I win. I'm a deserving winner. It's like, no, motherfucker. Like, that's just the prerequisite to show up on show day is to do all these things. Like, yeah, I think it's an accomplishment in itself, and you should be proud of getting to the stage at all. But also, guess what? There's got to be one winner, and the chances are it's not going to be you. Like, there's a good chance that, okay, if there's 6 or 7 other people in your class, guess what? You have like a 15% chance of that winner being you, mathematically. So I just think people have lost this like fucking competitive, stubborn desire to be undeniable. Like, people just put in the bare minimum and then put out their hand and say, okay, I'd like my award now, please. And it's like, no, it doesn't fucking work like that. This is a nasty subjective game where you have to be a bad motherfucker to really rise to the top. So, man, that's it, Tommy. That's all I got, pal. I'm going to need some additional telmisartan after this. My blood pressure's all right. I can feel it.
I can tie so many things to it, just from my disposition and like observing things, and then my experiences. Like, I think we're living in a world that everything is being done faster and convenience and Amazon Prime mentality, and it's like bodybuilding is still years. It's, you know what I mean?
It always
like,
will be until they figure out a myostatin inhibitor that just takes everybody to the next level. It's always going to just be about time.
You're not, and social media has just exacerbated. It's like taken away. It's cool that you can document your prep and show everything and have this group of people that want to follow along. And for whatever reason,
we're going to do it.
Support you. Maybe they want to learn. Maybe they're just interested in you, whatever the case may be. But a lot of people lack the ability to be critiqued, and they forget that you're getting on stage, and
you signed up for that.
You are getting on stage to be critiqued against other people. That's the whole point of competing. The whole, I know we all say like, oh, I beat my previous best. If you didn't do that, you fucking suck.
Well, you shouldn't even get on stage if that
Like
wasn't. Yeah,
beating the man in the mirror, that's easy, dude.
that's bare minimum.
Fuck, man. Like you're competing against other people. And I think that's just being lost in translation. Like you're going to be standing against other people. They are going to score you based off of size, symmetry, condition, presentation, whatever versus the other people. They don't care what odds you had to overcome to get there. They don't care if there was a death in the family along the way. They don't care how broke you are, how hard you worked, what you sacrificed. Everyone did that to a degree. And what you're showing in that moment of when you type up a post is one, you need to have a close group of people to vent to, or that you need to have a journal. You shouldn't hit post when you type that out. If anything, type it all out and then hit erase. But you're showing that you think that you, in that moment, that you gave more than everyone else. So automatically that should make you the victor. And you've forgotten that it's competitive, it's subjective, it's a competition against others based off of physique. The judges, who this isn't their first show fucking judging, they've probably been doing this for decades. Most of the panels I've ever seen, they didn't get it wrong. You're having trouble accepting the brutal truth of it. Is like, you just need to be better. I mean, you weren't on this day, and it really doesn't get any more cut and dry than that. And then, that's the problem with what social media creates, is you get surrounded by yes men who all they do is fire emojis. You look awesome. You're blowing up. Hell, every time I make a post, that's all I get. And I'm like, I don't want this in me. This is like venom. I don't need people to tell me how good I am. I need my core group to be like, hey man, your chest still sucks. Or, hey, like, I don't think you're lean enough right now. Hey, like, beat me up, man. That's what I am in this for. Like, I'm not investing all my money and time and health to a degree and sacrificing all of these things to be told I look good by people who eat Lay's potato chips on the couch. Like, I know I look good to you. Trust me. Like, I everything about my life is interesting to you to a degree because it's so much different than what you do. But you got to remember, like, it is a competition against others. And if you have a problem with that, then you should probably address that and maybe realize that competitive bodybuilding isn't for you. Just do it for yourself and to continually beat your old self. I just think it comes off as, that post that you're making where you're blaming everybody but yourself is it's almost regret being verbalized, because you're like, damn, maybe you did go broke to get on stage and you thought the victory would make it the sacrifice, the juice worth the squeeze, so to speak. And you didn't get that victory. So now you're like, shit, now you have to face the music. Like, my bank account's almost empty. I might have lost my relationship. My job's in jeopardy because I fucked off there. Like, maybe that's what's happening in that moment and you're just not processing that emotion. But it's definitely, there's entitlement involved. You think because you did a certain amount of work, you deserve to get to be recognized the winner. And that's not how battle works. That's not how war is won. Not to say competing is war, because it certainly is not. But it is, the competitive spirit still runs the same as it does in other sports, or it does in battle, or it does in MMA. Like, the best person wins. And I don't ever see that getting messed up too much. I don't see it, especially like you said, if it was like a close call between first and second, okay, great, probably do it behind closed doors. But I've seen guys after, pro qualifiers that have already happened this year saying they got X place, but they thought they could have been 3 places higher. It's like, who gives a fuck? It's still not first. You still didn't get a pro card. You still lost the same amount. You still invested the same amount of time and money into the prep and didn't get the end result. One of the classic things I see post show from people, and I might have even said it at one point in my life, so I'm calling myself out of years past, like, not what I came for. Like, I don't think anybody is going there for anything but the win. Let's put that out. Like, so we know it's not what you came for, but this whole thing may have started because you didn't have anyone in your camp and you didn't have a coach who was brutally honest with you. You know, I know we got a lot of younger people and like a lot of people who've either done one show or they're going to do their first show. I'm going to let you in on a secret right now. If you're good enough, if you win your first show or you win any of your classes, the show is probably just really weak. You are not that good at your first show, unless you're like somebody who's been bodybuilding for a decade already and finally getting on stage. Maybe you are more advanced, but the first time competitor, I'm sorry, the competitive circuit at the local level is a lot more watered down than it was 10 years ago and 10 years before that and 10 years before that. Like,
Yeah.
it used to be like a fucking rite of passage. You had to win a novice show to go into like an open show. And the local level, they used to have call outs like 35 guys deep before there was so many divisions. So you have to understand, like, you know,
Dude, 2014, I did my first show. And I did light heavyweights, and there was like 24 or 22 in the novice light heavyweight class.
Yeah.
And then 21 or whatever, like a couple less guys in the open as well. And that was my first show. So I'm like, oh shit, this is just how it's going to be. It's going to be this competitive. Like I need to step up. I wound up in like the third call out. I wound up 11th place or something. And the last thing I ever was going to go on, online and be like, just didn't get a look or not sure what they're looking for, or post photos of me in my pose perfectly next to the guy that won that's still halfway through his setup and being like, oh, wow, like this really speaks for itself. It's like, motherfucker, he's not even in his shot. Guess what? All the people that saw him get into his shot in real life put him way above you. So what does that say? Like, that's another thing. Like, I'm fine with people saying that's not what I came for. I almost would rather someone say that than be like, well, didn't really, went into this not knowing that I wasn't my best or whatever. No, I think going into it and being like, this isn't what I came for, or I came to win, that's great. But then where is the accountability? If it's, hey, this isn't what I came for, and I know where I messed up, and I'm going to work on it all year and come back and I'm going to be better next year. Awesome. Good for you. I think you're a real bodybuilder if you say something like that. If you say, not what I came for, guess this is a 12th place worthy physique, or didn't get the look that I was hoping for, or, oh, the promoter's son was the blah, blah, blah. No one gives a fuck, dude. Just go get better. Like, you weren't good enough. Point blank. Eat that, let it digest, and then come back when you're better. Like, it's that simple. And there's so, like you said, having only like this social media culture is so weird because you have, like you said, you have like people from all over the world, or people that don't know you, people that don't know bodybuilding, but you put up a post and you put the right hashtags on it, and there's going to be, especially I'm talking for my fellas, like you put up a post, there's going to be another 12 dudes that come and leave a fucking gorilla emoji, a fire emoji, diesel, king, beast mode, all this shit. And it's like, if that's all you ever hear, and your coach just tells you that you're awesome and we're going to be ready and you're going to be on the money and all these things, like, you don't ever have people to check like the ongoing delusional ego that you have, you're in for a rude awakening when real life happens and you show up and a judging panel thinks that you're 12th. You're in for a rude awakening. And hopefully, for people that might eventually be in that situation, hopefully they listen to this and then they know how to deal with it publicly. Because going on online and complaining and whining and looking like a little punk is not the way to do it, in my opinion.
No, anytime I see that, I'm like, that person has no honor. They have no pride. They have no moral.
Almost like embarrassed for you.
Yeah, I'm going to keep that receipt that you acted like this on this day. I don't care what you do in the future. You acted like this right now. So,
and it's easy. I'll note that too.
If that's a person like, dude, I'll fucking keep that receipt tucked.
That's such a good point, because the psychology, there's a very specific psychology coming with a post like that. Like, this is someone that is going to be impulsive, erratic. They're emotionally driven with their decision makings. Like, you were so internally worked up and so emotional that not only did you just say, like, it's not like you just said something in the moment on the spot. Like, you had to sit down and think about your words and type things out and then go back and correct something and put a comma there and look at it again. Is this how I want to sound online? And you still go through with it. Like, that's someone that, like you said, I almost wonder what else is going on behind the scenes, because it's like, if this was so delusionally important to you and you were that off with your perception of it, what else about your life are you just way miscalculating? I would say that there's a good chance that there's probably a lot more going on too. So yeah, I feel better.
Yeah, I've had therapy.
I guess instead of paying a therapist, you could just have a podcast. Now, whether anybody listens to it or not is another thing, but
I mean, it was there's good intent here. We don't do this to bash.
yeah, we
It's
just want people to train hard and not look like a fucking pussy online when their shows don't go the way that they hope. It's like, okay, come back better.
Year. I remember I saw a clip, a post-game interview with Kobe Bryant seconds after losing the NBA Finals, losing the Western Conference Finals to the Spurs, so we would have went to the finals. Seconds on the spot in front of millions, he's asked, why do you think you lost this series? He's like, I could say a million reasons why we lost. Point is, we lost. And then he's like, the journey to get better and win next year starts right now. And I was like,
go,
man, exactly. Go. Like, that is a champion mentality. Dude,
and by the same token, people, I'll steal another Kobe line.
That was going to the finals for a fourth time in a row. They had already won 3 years in a row. Yeah. And this motherfucker still has that mentality, like, God damn it, we're getting back. And they went flat. This was 2003, 2004. They went to the finals again. Like, you can't even write a story as good as he wrote his own story. And that we can all tap into that mentality.
And another Mamba mentality type thing is, people could use this on the flip side. We're talking about handling adversity or handling a loss. I remember him winning. They won a game in the finals to go up 2-0. And like the rest of his teammates were like notably excited, loud, whatever. He got interviewed after the game, and one of the reporters was like, "What's up with you? Up 2-0, and we can't even get a smile from you?" And he said, "Job's not finished." And the guy was like, "What do you mean? You guys just won a huge game. You had 40 points, carried the team to victory. You're up 2-0. You guys are poised for another title. Job's not finished." So taking that same mentality, like, these people that are complaining that they're third place or whatever, like at these bodybuilding shows, like, that's the opposite. They think, oh, job's finished and I did great. I'm the winner. I can't believe nobody realized it. No, motherfucker. It's the opposite. The job's not finished. Go back, go home, work on your shit, and come back better. And then we'll see.
That could also be applied to, know the quality of the show you're doing. If you win first place and there was only one other competitor, I would not act proud about that. I'm sorry. I wouldn't personally. Like, if that ever happens to me, I will make a post that says I competed against one other person.
Yeah.
This is not I do not feel like, I'll be grateful that I had the opportunity to compete, but that win will not hit me in any sort of way. Like, I won't post all the medal.
I'm honestly just surprised that people put so much weight into the result, win or loss, really, for anything other than like professional status. Like, if you win and you're given a pro card, awesome. Like, but like, okay, if you're going for a pro card and you're fifth, like, okay, you just got to come back better. If you go to the fucking, I don't know, little Debbie's Classic and you show up and, you win, okay, so what? There was 4 people here. Come back and get better. Like, win or loss, I don't know. I feel like I said, I forget who said, I might have heard this from my buddy Gary Turner. He said that when it comes to competing, you are the trophy. Like, your photos that you get back after and you just being up there and people seeing what you look like, that's where you should take your whole, like, where your value on the process should come from. Like, this process resulted in me looking like this, regardless of what anyone else says about it, meaning a judge, another competitor, whatever, somebody in the stands. No, like, this is what I brought, and this is what I'm basically leaving with, essentially. Like, regardless of a placing, like, I'm leaving with this look that I just put on film. So
that's like Lyric told me this. This girl made this post about talking about how she didn't win her show because this other girl, and her coach told her this, that the girl showed up because she was just trying to get nationally qualified, and so she won. And it was like, you don't even know how this all works, and your coach is also a moron for gassing you up and telling you the only reason you lost was because the other girl was trying to get her national qualification. That means she is so much better than you. She can walk into any regional show and win to get her qualification. That doesn't mean they only gave it to her because there's levels to this shit.
Oh, she's just gallivanting her way to the top. So
she's here.
It was her turn, so we're gonna give her the win. No, she fucking smoked you. She waxed the floor with you, is what she did.
That's how you know you're a perennial national level competitor, is when you can 9 out of 10 times walk into any local show and win the overall.
Yeah.
In any division. I don't care what division we're talking here. So, younger listeners, I realize a lot of you don't even follow competitive bodybuilding, which is strange to me. Like, I was all over the NPC website for months before I ever did my first show. I knew the weight classes. I knew the fucking, like, I didn't
the
necessarily
contenders, who was going to be
how the national level worked. Yeah, but I did know what I was doing. Like, some of you have never even been to a show and you want to compete, and like, that's step one. Go to the damn show and watch how the whole thing is run. Right. But all good points. I think we weren't angry today. We just felt this needed to be aired out.
I feel less angry now, so I don't know what that says for me when I started, but
and if one person can take what we said and be like, you know what,
if that just prevented one politics type post, fucking mission accomplished.
The two most overused words in this industry are genetics and politics. Remove them both.
On that note, for Tommy Stiles, I'm Joseph PIRCHER. This was a Thinking Man's podcast, and we are out. A Thinking Man's podcast.